Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Shining Brighter. My name is Nick. And today I want to talk about loss and grief and recovery. Before I get going, if you could help, please like, comment, subscribe. Help my channel to grow. Help me reach to more people so that I can try and help as many people as I can. Because I realize that that's what my purpose is in this world. And I'm happy to do it. I want to do it. And I don't need anything in return. It's not what this is about. It's just about realizing my purpose and doing what I can to try and make things better. So, loss can mean a lot of different things. Worst case scenario, obviously, is the loss of a loved one who passed on. And when that happens, you know, especially as somebody that was really close to you, you really cared a lot about, the pain is immeasurable. And it can be really hard, you know, to try and find any positives, or think that you're going to be happy again, or wonder if there's something you might have been able to do depending on the circumstances. And those are all normal reactions. We're all human. We all have emotions. We're all susceptible to hurt and grief and pain. But it's how you deal with that. What lessons you learn from it, because even though, you know, at the time it's really hard to think that you're supposed to learn something from it. Generally, whatever happens in life, whatever big and small events happen, I usually put there to help you learn a lesson and to become a stronger, more well-rounded, and more healed version of yourself. So that you're able to deal with whatever comes your way in a much better manner. Because without these life lessons, and without going through pain and grief and you know, hard times, if we're not tested and we don't learn, we can't become stronger. We can't become the better version of ourselves that we need to be. Now, I'm not saying that you'll always be able to pull a silver lining out of things, and that's the first thing you have to do. Because when you lose somebody, grief is hard. And your first job is to work through your grief. To be open about it. To recognize it. To accept it. And then do what you need to do in as healthy a way as possible to help yourself heal from it. You know, whether it be surrounding yourself with loved ones for support, or, you know, talking to a loved one that's passed. If you're religious, going and speaking with God, maybe go to your local religious establishment, depending on what your faith is. Seeking therapy. There's so many positive and healthy ways to deal with grief, but not everybody is able to just choose that, because the grief can hit so hard that you just want to curl up into a ball and shut the world out. And 100% I get it. In 2012, my dad passed away, and he was far too young. He went from working 6 days a week, riding his bike 10 miles a day, and golfing every weekend, to gone within 1 year. Sadly, he had a misdiagnosed medical condition, and ultimately it cost him his life. And my brother and sister and I, he lived in a different state at the time, and we went to the hospital. He was on life support. He was in an induced coma, and the doctors came and told us that the only reason he was still here was because he was on life support. Now, knowing that my dad would not want to be that way, we made the very, very difficult and painful decision to take him off of life support. And it wasn't something we took lightly, and it's probably the toughest decision I ever made. But at the same time, like I said, we knew my dad wouldn't want to be that way. So our decision was to honor him and put his needs and wants above all else, because it was his life. It wasn't our life. It wasn't our choice to decide for him to try and keep him on life support. So when I lost my dad, it was crushing. And what compounded it and made it worse was my ex-wife at the time constantly calling me, telling me how unfair it was that I was down in Florida, while she was at home with the kids having to do everything. And she just basically could care less that my dad just passed away, that I had to take him off life support. So that compounded things and made it worse. And I'm not telling you that to bash her. Whatever events shaped her life shaped her into the person she is, and she has to live with that. And she's not willing to do the work to change it. So I don't wish her any ill, and I'm not trying to slam her. I'm trying to illustrate the point of the choices I made during that time of grief and loss, and how it shaped me. So there was so much stress and pain and grief that I could have done something destructive to handle it, like drinking or partying, or going into a deep depression, hating myself, hating the world. There's so many things that could have happened, but they didn't, because of the way that I was raised, because of the lessons learned from my mother and father, and because of who I was as a person. Even though I wasn't completely healed, and certainly not the version of myself that I am now, which I'm so grateful that I am who I am now. But I looked at it and said, okay, I need to be strong for myself. I need to be strong for my family. And I need to be strong for my dad. So when it came time for the funeral services, we had to have him cremated for specific reasons. It's not how we wanted to do it, but we didn't really have a choice. But instead of buying an urn, my brother and sister and I decided that I would make him one. I do a lot of woodwork, carpentry, and that kind of thing, and I wanted something special for him. My dad's preference for furniture was oak, and he loved a particular finish, and that's what I did. and it came out nice. I took a lot of time and made it the way that I thought he would want it. And he was also a Marine, so my sister had given me the Marine seal. That was actually a Christmas ornament. And what I did was I took it and I flattened it on top of the lid of the urn, and then I polyurethaned over it so it was permanently attached. And then on the inside, I put a picture, one of the last family photos we had, my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, and I put that on the underside of the lid looking down on his ashes. And then we put in a few special items that meant a lot to him throughout his life. And that was our way of honoring him. And then we were able to have him buried at the nearest military cemetery, which we knew he would love because he was very, very proud of his service as a Marine. None of it was easy. It hurt very badly, and the feeling of loss afterwards, if you lost somebody you know. And it was compounded by, the nonsense from my ex, and other things going on in my life. Work was, horrible as usual. But I made the decision to hold myself up, pick myself back up, learn from it, and be somebody that my dad would be proud of. And not that he wasn't proud of me already, but I wanted to really show him that even when dealing with something as difficult as that I wasn't gonna break down and fall apart and, let myself fall into bad ways. And the lesson that I got from it was that I was strong and I was resilient and I could handle what came my way. I was able to pick myself back up, and I was able to honor my dad, and I was able to become a better person because of it. Now, of course, I wish he were still here with me. He missed out on so much that I feel like he was cheated out of. But everything happens for a reason. So I know he's smiling down on me from heaven. He's shown up a few times here and there where I know it's him. And after what he suffered through that year, which was really horrendous, I'm so happy for him that he's in a wonderful place. He's the best version of himself. There's no pain, there's no sadness, there's no illness, there's no nothing. And he's reunited with his family members that passed before him. So while he's gone physically, he's not gone. And I know that he watches over me. So I guess my point in this video is to tell you that I understand what loss and grief and pain and recovery are. And everybody does it different. And I'm not going to tell anybody that they're wrong for how they do it. I'm just going to offer my perspective and my support and let you know, whether you feel alone or not, you're not. there's always somebody that you can reach out to who will gladly lend you that hand up, lend you that support, give you that care and that love that you need, and be there. I think what it comes down to is you choosing it. You choosing how you want to handle adversity, how you want to handle loss and grief. And I focus specifically on, the loss of a loved one, but it doesn't just have to be that. Maybe you lost, a husband or a wife through divorce. Maybe you lost a limb or appendage. Maybe you lost everything that you had, financially, and your house, or whatever the case is for your loss, however it resonates with you. Try to look at it as best you can. And it's not easy, but I promise you, if you can look at it, and maybe it's something that you look back after you've recovered. And a lot of times what you'll find, not every case, but in a lot of times you'll find when you do recover from something, you actually come back better. And you came back better because how you dealt with that adversity, that loss, that grief, that pain. And you made yourself that better version. And that is the lesson and the gift that comes from it. So again, I hope this helps, no matter what the circumstances are. Certainly, I'm always open to offering support to anybody that needs it. And most importantly, as always, know your value, know your worth, and respect yourselves. Because I truly do see you all for who you really are. And I love you all for it. You're never alone. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Have a great day.